Councilman Clark.
Present.
Councilman Corbett.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartwell.
Yes, I'm here.
Councilwoman Scott. Here. Councilman Soltis.
Here.
And Mayor Swanson.
Here, present. The invocation this evening is going to be given by Councilman Corbett. Please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Infinite wisdom, we thank you for having given us the opportunity to meet together here today. And we ask most humbly a blessing on our gathering. Brighten our eyes with greater understanding, enrich our hearts with compassion and courage, and again receive our gratitude for this opportunity of fellowship. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a presentation this evening. Let's see if I pick up my wristwatch. The National Public Works Week Proclamation.
Whereas the public works services provided in our community are an essential part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water distribution, sewer maintenance, stormwater management, streets and highways, public buildings, fleet maintenance, parks, recreation, and solid waste collection. And whereas the health, safety, and comfort of our community greatly depends on these facilities and services. And whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities and services, as well as their planning, design, and implementation, are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of our Department of Public Services employees. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude toward and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Madison Heights does hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through the 23rd, 2015 as National Public Works Week, and calls upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions that our public services employees make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. And Your Honor, I believe Mr. Vitale is here.
Mr. Vitale is here, yeah. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you very much. Good job. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Soltis.
I would be happy to make a motion to add Superintendent Randy Speck on tonight's agenda as a presenter for the number 2 presentation.
Okay, under the presentations, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Second?
Your Honor.
Mr. Hartwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, fine. Mr. Speck, I guess if you want to step up here, please. And good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Name and address again, if you will. I think you're getting familiar.
Randy Speck, 3903 Nutcracker Court, Oxford, Michigan, 48370. Mr. Mayor, I believe you have some relatives up in Oxford.
Yes, sir. My wife was born and raised there.
Sounds great. Well, I'm here to talk about the school district and the city, and I appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of you and to talk about some things that we've talked about a little bit, but tonight we'll have an opportunity to all get on the same page, because it's really important that you hear this presentation, that you hear it from me, you hear about some of the vision, the plans that we have. I'm glad that members of my school board are here, members of our teaching staff are here, along with facilities director, athletic director, Mr. Jimmy Brown, and Teachers Union President Angel Abdul-Had. I appreciate them being here tonight to show support for some of the things that we're trying to do. We also have Mr. Tim Ruggles, CEO of Habitat for Humanity in Oakland County, and Elizabeth Weiss from Habitat as well. So the school district, there are most people who would think, well, schools, that's what you do. You stay in your lane and you just do schools. You do math, and you do science, and you do social studies, and you do M-STEP, and you standardized testing, and that's what you do. And for the most part, that is what we do. But when there are opportunities to look at some of the assets that we have and ways that we can expand our strategy and our vision, that's something that we are responsible to do. And I think some of the things you're going to hear about tonight, everything has a strategy to it. Everything has a reason to it. And that's what we'll talk about tonight. You got to start first with a mission and a vision. Mission that we do every day, that we practice every day, is that we serve families one student at a time. I can't get to students just individually. I need their whole family. Because we know that if we work hard for our families to have healthy environments, to be successful in their homes, then that's going to help the students. If I just went after the student, I'd be missing a huge part of this. So we serve our families one student at a time, and we do that through our vision. The vision of the Madison District Public Schools is to be a high-achieving, premier small public school system recognized for providing a rigorously challenging and culturally diverse education and meeting each student's learning needs. When I first came to the school district 3 years ago, I remember reading this vision statement, and I remember thinking, that's the biggest vision statement I've ever heard. That is a huge vision statement. How can it be that big? And the reality is, who wants a size 1 or 2 dream? That's boring. You don't. I want to dream to remodel my bathtub. No, you don't want to do that. You want to dream to remodel the entire house or the entire neighborhood. And so our vision is that kind of a dream. It's a size 10 dream. And so we started doing some of those things recently. It's been over 40 years since new buildings and new development took place in Madison District Public Schools, and you guys were a part of this. You've been in this building. The new Madison Elementary started this past January, a culmination of an election that took place 2 years ago last week, where our school board members, many took the lead to get our residents and our community out to vote for our own progress, to vote for our own success, to vote for our own students to be successful in what we were trying to accomplish. Now we're ready to move on to what we believe is an exciting phase 2. Take a new middle school and put it in the northwest part of Madison High School. So if just the top of that screen is 11 Mile, if you look over in the top left-hand corner, that's the new Madison Elementary. The white roof would be the new middle school. And we're excited about that. In the next couple of pictures, you can just go through the next 2 pictures, and that would be great. Middle school in that large parking lot to the left side of the high school, that would be the area that we would be looking to put our middle school. And it's important that you see this, even though that doesn't necessarily have anything specifically to do what I'll talk about later, but it all connects. It all connects. And I think it connects because of this quote. Times and conditions change so rapidly that we must keep our aim constantly focused on the future. In education, typically schools and school districts have been slow to change. In fact, we're dinosaurs at change. We're the Titanic trying to figure out what's going to be the next step, and if we can do it in a 5-year plan that will shelve and then come back to it later on down the road. We've been successful the last couple of years because we haven't done that. We've moved. When we've seen opportunities, we've done it, and that's what we're trying to do now. I think education actually is probably one of the most competitive businesses and industries in the state of Michigan right now. We're all trying to get students. We're trying to get students. Our friends in Lanphier, they're trying to get students. Everybody's trying to attract students. And you're trying to attract students certainly to what you offer, but what also is your vision and strategy for the future. The next slide has to do with our theme of a couple of years ago, Madison Kids Matter. And what that means is anybody who comes into our school district is a Madison kid. If you're in one of our buildings, if you're sitting in front of one of our teachers, you're a Madison student. And we love and we care and we provide and we serve every one of those students as if they were our own children. But the future is really important. And so I I saw this in the city's recreational plan, which was perfect because it ties right into our strategy as well. The city's capacity to grow in the future will largely depend on the availability of housing. We think there are some really great opportunities using the assets that we have in the Madison District Public Schools to help and to work with you and to work with other partners to develop really good and very affordable housing. We think that's part of our strategy. We know that's part of our strategy going forward on how we grow, on how we have a school district that's successful and viable over the next 3, 5, 10 years. The next slide shows the area that we think about. It's an area next to Halfman Elementary, sometimes referred to as Sunset Park. It's an area that certainly needs development. It's been part of kind of a land swap, city loan type of a thing over the last several years where the city's had it, the school district uses it, and we kind of loan it back and forth to each other. But we think there's a real strong opportunity to put important housing there. So what if you had something like that, something that's really not taken care of all that well, and you turned it into what could be the next slide, a concept of homes, a concept of green space, a concept of park space, a concept where you had people who you could see outside walking along the pathways and in between their homes and out on the front porches visiting with their neighbors, and benches and park space there for people to take a look at. And we've been working over the last several months in what I think is a really exciting and innovative partnership with our friends from Lawrence Tech University and Habitat for Humanity. Now, Habitat has been involved here in the district, in the city for some time, rehabbed and worked at least 11 homes. Lawrence Tech is obviously a leader in architectural studies and architectural design. So Lawrence Tech and Habitat started working together on how to develop the next best type of habitat home. New ways to build, new ways to construct, ways to save money, energy efficient ways of construction. We joined the conversation because of some things that were already happening at Madison High School, a really successful construction trades program where our students are getting hands-on opportunity, working in homes, working to repair, and we wanted to see, well, I think there's opportunities to use many of our students to help build and also work with Lawrence Tech. We already have early college programs through Rochester College and other community college. Why not add Lawrence Tech to that mix as well? The great thing about these types of partnerships is you know up front some of the things that you're going to get. You don't even know all of the great things that you're going to get. You start to think about Habitat and bringing in their home repair program. It could come into the Madison Heights community even more than it already is. Their ability to access grants, to find funding that could be used to help this part of the community and the entire part of the community. And then you talk about the resources of Lawrence Tech, a world-renowned architectural graduate school program where you release these students along with some of the great professors in that type of field. We become the beneficiaries of their work. We become the beneficiaries not just of theory, not just of concept and ideas, but of actual practice. The house on Kalama that was built this past year, and recently the homeowner just moved into it, built by Madison students along with other volunteers. Proud of this young lady and many of her friends who worked really hard on that house. The house appraised and was sold for $104,000. The comps around that house, the 6 houses that recently sold, for an average of $55,000. That's good work. It's good work that's being done for a good family and a good community, and I think it would be good development. I don't think it would be overdevelopment. I think it would be good development because there hasn't been any development yet. So again, how could we use our assets to possibly provide for some solutions that the city could possibly need? The next slide takes a paragraph from page 21 of the recreational plan. it mentions this concept, a proposal to donate the former Halfman Elementary School, including city parkland for nonprofit housing development, needs careful analysis. At least an acre to an acre and a half of this site should be retained for a neighborhood park to serve the area south of Lincoln and east of John R. so that children can walk to the park without crossing a major thoroughfare. It should be noted that this neighborhood is already identified as having a slight deficiency in available parkland. We've had some discussion about the need for green space, the need for the amount of park space that you have to have as a city to be able to apply for land grants and things like that. In your recreational plan, this park isn't mentioned, this acreage isn't mentioned, and maybe that's because we're on loan to it right now. But there are some things that are identified. Number one, park space, an acre and a half, keep that. The other part that's mentioned in the very last line is that there is a known deficiency in that area of the city for good park space. We know in your recreational plan for the surveys that were done that people want playscapes, they want more totscapes, they want more pavilion, park space to have pavilion spots. They want more outdoor activities. Well, we think we might have a solution to that. Just some concepts. But if you start to think about an area where people could walk through, people could be with their neighbors, people could have great development, good housing, affordable housing, at the same time, not only their neighbors, but the neighbors on all sides of that community could be a part and could join in on the playscapes and the totscapes and the pavilion, the park pavilions. Maybe even a tool community where families could rent tools, and Home Depot and Lowe's would be a part of that. The next slide just shows a different idea of that. And the next slide shows kind of an overview. An overview, not on any kind of a concept that would be sticking today, but just to show you that you could have houses and you could have park space, you could have your acre and a half park space in that area. We know that based on the report, the recreational plan, that there are deficiencies in the park space, and that's been identified throughout the city. And I know you're looking to find funding and other ways to handle a lot of those different deficiencies. Madison District Public Schools is coming to you saying, we know that you have problems. We'd like to provide a solution for one of those problems, for one of those areas. We'd like to have conversation, new, wide open conversation about what we could do to this space, how we could develop it, to go back to that statement found on page 4 of that recreational plan, so you could put in housing, because that's part of the growth in the future of the city. The last slide just has this. A few minutes ago, I had Madison, Lawrence Tech, and Habitat for Humanity as a three-way partnership. We would like to extend the invitation. We'd like for the city of Madison Heights to be a part of that four-way partnership. We'd like for you to join us to join you, work in partnership with these other two great entities. The attention, the public relations. It wasn't too long ago that we were standing before you with 5 students who had sent an experiment in a mission patch design to the International Space Station. And I remember Mr. Clark, Councilman, you said to those young ladies and Mr. Barndollar that they had helped put Madison Heights on the map, because that story went all over the world. I remember that. And that was important for them to hear. It was important for us to hear as well. We think this is something that's pretty innovative. We think this is something that we would definitely like for you to look at. I'm taking those same students tomorrow to the State Board of Education, where we've been asked to make a presentation to the Michigan State Board of Education about that whole concept. That's more attention brought back to Madison Heights. I appreciate the opportunity to have all of you hear this presentation, this concept at the same time, and I would look forward to having more opportunities. I'd like for you to possibly take this back to your Parks and Rec Committee. I'd like for this to be looked at, because I know the concept was mentioned about it because it's in that plan. But we as a school district really didn't have the opportunity to present this forward to you and to have it really looked at in a way that could happen sooner than later. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience? Yeah. Anybody in the audience wish to discuss this project? Council? Step to the microphone, name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Good evening.
Hi, Cindy. I'm 901 East Lincoln. I think the presentation was great. I was at the school board special meeting a couple weeks ago to get information on this project, and really all it was, in my opinion, was a city council bashing. I'm concerned working in a real estate office about building $105,000 homes in a $50,000 neighborhood. I'm not so certain that all of the city residents want to donate their asset, because that property is not just owned by Madison people. It's owned by everyone. I don't know that there's support in the South End to give away our property. It seems to me, and maybe I'm wrong, I've looked through the board minutes, I can't find any minutes, and if I'm wrong, somebody can share that with me, where it's been in any of the public meetings before they brought in Habitat for Humanity. It seems like there's a big push, no numbers, very simple design plan. That's nice. I think everybody needs more information than that. I know the steps that John Austin went through for city council to lend that property to Madison when we had a need for it, to be certain. But it didn't just go to Parks and Rec. It came to city council. It was reviewed by the regular master plan. I would think that you would need at least those steps to go backwards to consider giving away that asset, when at least that much was done just to lend it. I don't know, I haven't seen enough information to know whether this is a great positive thing. I think we absolutely are in the business of educating our kids. I think that should be our focus. I think that the staff has done a great job. They keep their priorities in order. I see where they're reaching for the moon. I'm just not so sure that there is all the support that maybe they would like to think that there is. And I have, like I said, I even went to the public meeting to get the information. That's not what I got. So I did get information, and I've shared with some of you numbers. There's just a lot more to this. And I would like for everyone to go very carefully. I know assets, once they're given away, are not easily recouped. And just because we build homes doesn't mean the kids will stay there to go to school. We've seen that time and time again for years. When I was on the school board, I heard half the kids, are somewhere else. Half the kids belong from somewhere else. Well, we're at that point if you look at the numbers. We weren't before, but we are now. So just take all of that into consideration. Yes, be friendly. Yes, we want to all work together. But I wouldn't say rush into anything. And that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Cindy. Anybody else wish to address council, please feel free to do so. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Al Morrison. I live at 26668 Townley in Madison Heights. I'm the president of the Madison District Public Schools School Board. And I really did not have an intention of speaking tonight, although I feel the need to now. I would like you all to know that there was 3 speakers at the town hall.
You have to speak up a little bit if you
There was 3 speakers at the town hall meeting. It was a town hall meeting, not a Board of Education meeting. And there was 3 speakers at the town hall meeting, myself, Jim Brown, Randy Speck. Not at any point in time, was a council member named, nor was a council member bashed, nor was this council at all bashed, nor its mayor. Not at any point in time. And I would be glad to get you copies so that you can see that yourself. The idea that we're not developing the south end of the city in an appropriate manner is a matter of opinion. Cindy's exactly right. We stand on the opposite sides of the fence. Where she doesn't think that we have support, I know we have support. So I feel confident in that. When she says she hasn't seen numbers yet, nor have we. We can't really convince Habitat and Lawrence Tech to invest money into a project that could very well fall face first tomorrow. It's difficult to invest your money in something that you don't know whether or not it's available to you. So the idea that we could have a starting point to at least say it's a possibility may give them more of an opportunity to say that they would invest their time and their money in it. To say that we can't sell a $105,000 home on the south end of Madison Heights, on Kalama, it's already been done. So I beg to differ there. Madison District wasn't in deficit for over 20 years. It struggled, greatly it struggled. We diminished programs, we diminished supplies, until we finally diminished its student body. We went through 8 superintendents in 7 years. We have a strong, forward-moving board with great ideas, great perspective. We've been out of deficit for 5 years. We look upward and onward, knowing that the only way to keep Madison District Public Schools moving forward is to rely on Madison District Public Schools with the support of its local government. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to address the council, please feel free to do so. Good evening.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here. My name is Manam Awad. I'm the Director of Student Services and Special Education for the Madison District Public Schools. I am an outsider to Madison District Public Schools, to Madison City. I don't live in the city. I'm here to speak just as a public service employee. Although I do have quite a few family members that live within the boundaries of the city.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, could we have the speakers pull that microphone closer to their mouth?
Absolutely.
I want to make
Thank
sure I
you.
hear everything.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to be able to speak in such a public forum. I think what we need to do is reflect on what is it that we intend to accomplish here. You're going to hear some varied perspective, some who are for and in favor of this project, some who are opposed to the project, and some that will simply sit on the fence and wait for the dust to settle, decisions to be made, and then they'll make their decision to support the momentum that exists or speak up against it. What I would encourage the board to do and the council to do is to look, but you don't have to look that far away. It's not that long ago that I remember what condition Universal Mall used to be in. And through forward planning and long-term vision, look at what that parcel of land has been transformed into. I remember not too long ago what Royal Oak, downtown Royal Oak, used to look like. Back to the days when 696 stopped at a certain point and picked up way far over to the west side. Royal Oak had nothing for anybody to write home about until that expressway was put through that developed and stimulated some business activities in the downtown section. I used to be an employee of the Hazel Park School District. I do recall when they tore down United Oak Elementary, Beecher Middle School. And I would encourage you just to drive down into the Hazel Park community and look at what they have done with those parcels of land. Granted, those were the times when we had different presidents in the office, when we had a vibrant economy where they were able to create Renaissance communities that was able to rehabilitate and refurbish those communities. As a director of student services, I'm privileged sometimes to have to travel between my district and some of our neighboring districts to conduct school business. And during those travels, it's an eye-opener to see that stimulus activity that takes place in some of those localities, in those neighborhoods. Those parcels of land in Hazel Park have been turned into a gem. You need to drive down by the Jardin schools and look at what homes are going up. I opened up my comments by saying I'm an outsider. I am not from Madison. I am only employed by the Madison District Public Schools. But I encourage you to keep an open mind and take in the input that you're going to receive through due diligence from your community members, but keep a balanced perspective as to what opportunities lay ahead of you that are not yet realized. The writing is on the wall. It's been proven before. Where you invest, where you engage in community transformation, things will start to happen. You will reap the benefits of any investment you make in that side of town. Thank you. I appreciate your time to listen to my comments.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to address? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jimmy Brown. I am the Facilities Director and Athletic Director for Madison District Public Schools. You want my address?
Please.
30509 Ulmer Drive, Warren, Michigan, 48092. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight, and I'll try to hold the mic here so everybody can hear me. I've lived or worked in Madison Heights for almost 40 years. I know many people from the north side. I know many people from the south side. And I can tell you right now that I've never seen this kind of progress from Madison District Public Schools ever. And I went to Madison High School. I went to Wilkinson Middle School. I went to Edison Elementary. And I'm proud to say that I'm from Madison Heights. And when I say Madison Heights, that doesn't mean South Side. It means Madison Heights. I've worked for the city, Parks and Rec. I've coached in the city, baseball, football, basketball. I volunteered my services for many years. I'm proud of where I'm from, very proud. And I don't want to sit up here and get angry or get too passionate, but I'm proud of where I'm from. I'm proud that I work for Madison District Public Schools. And like I said, there's a change coming, and it's already started, and it's not going to stop, okay? So I think all misrespect, and I have to ask the council, when's the last time you've had a presentation like that from a superintendent, whether it's from the north side or the south side? And all he's asking for is a sit down. We're not asking you or telling you what needs to happen. We're asking you to sit down to see what can happen. Okay?
Yes, sir.
That's it. That's all we're asking. And hold on. I'm sorry. Real quick. In the development that we talk about, I mean, we're trying to make a fiscally responsible decision to consolidate our schools. I mean, it's an unfortunate thing because when I went to school there and when my father went to school there, it was a Class A school. Well, unfortunately, because of the times and people moving out, we don't have those kind of numbers. I mean, Lanford just sent out a flyer. They're looking for 464 kids K through 12. So it's not just Madison that's looking for kids. Everyone's looking for kids. Okay? We're making a fiscally responsible choice to consolidate to one area. Okay? Now, if we do that, obviously there's no reason to hold on to the 5 properties that we have, trying to be fiscally responsible. So even if we develop some of this land, and we just developed our half of Halfman, and nothing happens to the other portion that still belongs to the city, something's going to need to be done regardless, okay? So we develop it, then we keep it the way it is now. where you have a T-ball field from back when I played 30 years ago that still has the same structure. Something's going to need to be done. All we're asking is for a sit-down. Please talk to us, see where this thing can go. That's it. And the thing is, and I talked to Mr. Hartwell, and I'd like to thank Mr. Hartwell for visiting the high school a couple weeks ago for our cultural awareness. He spent a couple hours, and I can't thank him enough for giving us the time to see what we got going on. And I appreciate him coming by. But the thing is, we have to do this. We have to sit down and find out what's best for the city, okay? Move the city forward. And what I told Mr. Hartwell is, can you imagine 10 years from now, you look back and we've done the things, some of the things that Mr. Specs talked about on the south side of Madison Heights, do some retail, do some developing, and get people excited. And you all have an opportunity to be a part of that change. You know, I'm sure most of you aren't just sitting up there because you want to sit up there, right? You'd like to leave some kind of legacy. I mean, we all do. We want to serve a purpose, okay? So sometimes you got to put aside your differences, put aside your ego, and come to a resolution that's beneficial for everyone. You all have an opportunity to make a legacy in the city, and why not start now? Because I'm telling you right now, if you look at the last bond, the extension of the bond, and I know that there was a speaker that came up and said there wasn't a lot of support on the south side, that bond, the extension of the bond, passed by over 100 votes. So I think there's some momentum. And the last town hall meeting we had at the elementary school was overwhelming, and it was positive. There wasn't any bashing, wasn't anybody calling out anyone's name. It was positive, and it's the first meeting that I've been to in a long time where there hasn't been any kind of drama. Okay? I really appreciate your time, and I hope that we can sit down and talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir.
I don't know if you remember me, Angel Abdullahad, 238 Streamview Drive, Troy, Michigan. We were here. You guys honored us and the students for that space exploration thing. I'm also the union president for Madison District Public Schools. Been there about 2.5 years. So I'm going to talk numbers. I'm a numbers guy, right? So 30 homes. So I am willing to pledge the first home at $105,000. I'm willing to buy that first home and be a taxpayer. So that leaves 29 homes instead of 30 homes. And I'm willing to pay the $105,000. I'll probably go with a different real estate agent because I disagree with some of the things they're talking about housing. New homes raise all existing property taxable value 10 to 15%. That's a fact. 10 to 15% taxable value. You build a new home, everything else goes up. That's real money, okay? New homes attract families. It's a spiraling effect, right? We already have families in this district that are attending here, but can't find a home that meets their needs at that price. Because all new homes that are being built are what? At $300,000 and above range, at 3,000 square feet, at a quarter acre. All new homes in upper Oakland County. That's where they are, ma'am. New homes. No one builds 1,000 to 1,200 square foot homes now. They don't do that anymore. 12 teachers. 12 teachers said, you know what, I'm trying to find something around 100,000. They can't find anything. Or it's in Royal Oak and it's real run down, beat down. Wouldn't it be awesome to have teachers who work here that also live here and pay taxes here? It's really a win-win. So 12 teachers, I'm willing to buy the first one. So I encourage you to look at it not only from a fiduciary duty to bring as much taxable income to the city of Madison Heights. And the last thing I want to say, the school of choice thing, that's a state initiative, right? So nobody has control over school of choice. The state of Michigan has passed some laws, and you have to open, and so people do shop around. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing that we're attracting people. We're attracting people because of the programs that we're offering. Robotics has never been offered at Madison District Public Schools. I don't know if it's offered at Lanphier, but I know that at the high school. But at the middle school level, we have robotics. That's the first ever at Madison Heights at a middle school level. And now we're looking to introduce robotics in the elementary level. So there's a lot of good things. So from a neutral perspective, I want you to take a look at things from a neutral perspective. You decide what's best for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Bill Pittman, 27768 Delton, Madison Heights. And I just want to try to maybe address a few of the things of the speakers. I don't know if that's okay that came up here. I don't believe Mr. Abdulahad will be eligible to purchase these properties at the Happen property. But we have other plans for people like the teachers and other properties coming. I'd also like to address, if I could, Mrs. Holder, regarding the statement that, first off, building $105,000 homes around $55,000 homes is not a good thing. Is that pretty much what was said? I don't agree. I believe Habitat for Humanity will have buyers for these homes lined up. It's not an issue, it's not an issue of having to market these homes and put them open to anyone to buy. So, and the last thing I'd like to say is there was another comment made that the Madison District Public Schools are shooting for the moon. Our students went past the moon. All right, we went to the space station. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Sanders. I live here in Madison Heights on Rialto Street at 26433. I agree with them. We do exist south of 11 Mile. We do. I swear we do. Do any of you live south of 11? Good. What do you think of our neighborhoods? Have you driven on Gregg Street lately? Can we get that fixed? You rebuilt it and poured concrete and it's crumbling. That's my point. Would you please come down and redo it? I keep hearing you're going to. When? It's a brand new paved concrete and 5 years later it's falling apart. Please, please help us. Please, I'm being as polite as I can. We've got kids that need good schools. Can you help us? Well, I know we're at the south end of the city. Please help us. They're good people. They mean well. We do. We're not rich. But I'm telling you, a little house next door to me, it's only 2 little bedrooms, barely a kitchen, a little bitty bathroom. It sold last week for $62,000. So don't tell me that $150,000 is too much for a house anymore. Doesn't have a basement, doesn't have an upstairs. It's a little bitty 40-foot, barely. We need your help, please. And when you come down, take a drive on Gregg and please help us out and repave it or put asphalt on top so it looks better.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can we take a look at Gregg Street, please?
Yeah. Mr. Schaefer, would you take care of that? Look at it for us. How's that?
Yeah, Your Honor, we are in the process of doing the citywide paving analysis, and Gregg is an integral part of that. So it's part of our road rating that we've just done, but it requires a long-term solution too. But I know Mr. Vitale will tell us that there's patching and other things that are just stopgap, but we are trying to address it as best we can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Tim Ruggles. I'm the CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Oakland County. I live at 3330 North Hickory Ridge in the other corner of Oakland County, Highland, Michigan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for hearing us tonight, and council persons, thank you for this opportunity. We have a long history of partnering with the city of Madison Heights. Habitat does. In fact, we've got a history of working together. It's been a very productive relationship. And many of you have joined me as we dedicate homes here in Madison Heights and have commented how wonderful these projects are and how it does serve the city as well as the neighborhoods as well as the families. We have a very unique opportunity before us. Habitat brings people together to build homes, communities, and hope. That's our mission statement. We have a very unique opportunity here because we have a school district who is standing up, wanting to be the nucleus of community development. And we know that good community development always revolves around the schools. We have a great opportunity to do that. We need the city. We have lots of other places that we can get land for free in the county. We are really excited about working here in Madison Heights because of our long-standing relationship with you all, as well as working with the Madison School District. It's really all that I wanted to say, other than let's not think of it in terms of giving away property. Giving away kind of insinuates that there's no value after you give it away. If that was the case, the city would not have partnered with Habitat in the past. You would have stopped after the first lot, right? But you didn't. You kept on going because you knew that this type of community development brings value to the city. It brings families, it brings taxpayers. It does raise property values in a city like Madison Heights, especially in the southern area. So let's think of this as a redeployment of assets that has the possibility to meet all the goals of the city's master plan also, because that's the way we're truly looking at it. Thank you very much, and thank you for hearing us all tonight.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Alexander Marr, 27129 Elger, Madison Heights, Michigan. Ms. Holder made a statement about us giving property away. I think we're being physically responsible right now, because if we don't do something with this property, we'd have to mothball it. That's costing us $250,000 a year. So we're giving $250,000 a year away. When I first got on this board, we walked into like about $1 million deficit. We wiped this deficit out in about 6 months? I don't know what a deficit is no more. We have very good vision. And I'm not going to do no bashing either, but it feels like I'm on the board right now when Cindy was on it. I think I'm going to foyer all of our meetings because she voted against about 95% of the things we did in this district. So if we'd have stayed her way, we'd probably be in a lot of trouble.
Well, let's talk about what you want to
there's a lot of negative coming. I don't like all the negative.
No, I know. Please don't.
We're trying to progress our district. We're trying to be physically responsible. That's not giving away a property. We're trying to better our side of the town. We're trying to save money. $250,000 it costs to keep that building open. We got to heat it. We got to everything. Electricity, maintenance. We need to do something. We're trying to do the right thing for the Madison district.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else wish to address council? I want to thank everybody for being here. And what's the wish of council this
Your Honor?
evening? Yes, sir.
I move that we send this project concept to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board for a formal review with an initial meeting to occur at the first available date.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Corbett?
Support.
Discussion?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
I want to thank everybody for coming out. It's really great to hear the positive comments and just the desire to move this community in a progress direction. I guess we're the city of progress, right? So I love the concept, but I'm a process guy at heart. Anybody who's sitting in the audience who knows me, I'm an I's dotted, T's crossed kind of guy, and I think Superintendent Speck is right. Parks and Rec is the absolute best place, in my opinion, to iron out these details. And I also believe that Madison Schools has earned the right to start the conversation on a big idea like this after the initial success of their Central Campus project. I mean, that Madison Elementary is not just beautiful, but incredibly functional and is a nice highlight of our city. Obviously, this is an incredibly big investment and a very important decision that will need to be heavily evaluated. It's going to need to eventually come back here for formal dialogue and approval. But as a starting place to have this discussion, I think Parks and Rec is the perfect forum.
That's it?
That's it, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, council? If not, we have approval.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I think I'll talk to you. I wanted to thank all the residents and the Madison people for being here today and representing something you truly believe in, that you think is going to work. And we sense your enthusiasm, we sense your excitement, and we respect your opinions. And I want you to always remember that. We're here to listen. And we're here to listen as our part of our job of being on the council and the mayor. That's our job, to listen and to take into what we hear and see if we can satisfy those visions that you have. We need to do this in a logical fashion, and I like the idea of going to Parks and Rec and being considered with all aspects. For instance, this is a very nice brochure, but I'm a little confused because I wish you would have put directions on here. I apologize because I was at Shane Halls for probably 8 years doing the historical museum, but I'm still trying to figure out which building is which. So if you could put some better labels on here, that would help me actually envision what's going on and where everything is going to be. And I like that. As a photographer, I like to see things in my mind before I have the concept ready to analyze. But I do want to take this opportunity to say that the Madison schools have done so much for our community. And I'm not just up here shining and trying to make friends because I feel I already have them. What you did when you allowed us to have our historical museum in Shane Halls for 8 years was a gift that we can never repay. And I think it was an advancement in terms of saving history. Is kind of a roundabout effect. But we realized that your history, as well as everybody else's, is worth saving. And I know there were so many of us that gave our volunteer hours. I mean, we had I think it was 400 volunteer hours at least when we went to sit down and to analyze it. We had 2 people from the Historical Commission there every week. And I can't thank you enough for letting us use that facility and develop that museum and let you know that your history is important to the whole city. And we are still continuing to work on that and capture it and make sure that everybody knows that. Randy, you have been a great superintendent, and I've worked with other ones, but you are the shining example of what somebody needs to negotiate with the board, I think, and to listen to everybody. I think we've made a lot of progress with you there, and I commend you for being there, and I commend all your staff, which I've had good fortune to meet. The school board is very interested, I know, in progress as we are, and we're not closing any doors. The last thing we want to do is close a door. We want to work with you, and we want to hear your opinions because we value them. And so I think that referring that to Parks and Rec, I know you may have a timeline, but I think we're going to work very hard on getting this established. And let's see what happens. Let's make this a city project. I know you need it in the Madison schools for your economy there, and you need the students, but let's make this a city project and always keep that in mind, that whatever we do for your school district is something we're going to do for this whole city. We want everybody to appreciate it, and everybody to have input on what they want. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor?
Comments? Yes, sir.
I want to thank Superintendent Speck for coming tonight. I really wanted him to be here to present his vision and the Madison School Board and district's vision tonight. I want to thank all that came up and spoke. It takes courage to stand up and speak. I appreciate that. I think it's phenomenal that this school district can get partners like Habitat for Humanity and Lawrence Technical University. What an impressive feat. Congratulations on that. For me, whenever there's affordable housing, I'm all for talking about it. I see the value in the project. I see the redeployment of values, as you spoke. I, for one, would like to continue the open collaborating dialogue. I am ready for a sit-down, and I welcome it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir. Mr. Corbett?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know,
No.
I have a fun time repeating my Madison bona fides. I grew up on Halfman. That's my neighborhood. I played on that park. It's like Jimmy Brown, Mr. Jimmy Brown talked about. Sunset Park was my park, so I know that neighborhood. Grew up on Hudson, south of Lincoln. I mean, those are the formative years of my life. And when I was lucky enough to get my first job out of school, I bought my first house in the South End. I currently live in the South End. It means a lot to me. But I never approach my job in City Council as a Madison District resident. I approach it as a Madison Heights resident and a fiduciary to the entire city. And I know this City Council takes that same mission. And I've never heard once this mayor, this council, or the staff degrade the South End. That's it's not how we operate. We operate with limited resources, and our number one mission is the health and safety of our residents, and that's why public safety is always our number one talking point. And so occasionally, when we have limited resources, some things we have to make sacrifices on. So it's really exciting that we have partners in building a community, and it's really interesting the project that Superintendent Randy Speck discusses. But you know, keep in mind, we are a professionally run city. When developers come to City Hall, typically they already have the engineering in place, the hard numbers. And so I'll be really interested to see when the rubber hits the road with this project, where it comes down from the lofty policy pieces to the actual engineering. And I understand a lot of this is on what am I trying to say? A donation type basis, but I'm really interested to see the engineering. What are the hard costs? What are the hard numbers? And I don't know if LTU has already published that, but that's what I think will be very helpful for the Parks and Rec Commission and ultimately for City Council. But that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else on council? So we have a motion by Councilman Bliss, a second by Councilman Corbett to forward this concept to Parks and Recreation. All in favor, aye?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, folks. We appreciate it very much. This will be going. Continuing on, if you don't want to stay for the rest of the council meeting, you can be excused, but we're happy to have you. Moving on the agenda, we have the business licenses initial, temporary seasonal, and non-commercial, and nothing is scheduled for this evening, so let's go to item B on the agenda, public hearings, and we have a fiscal year 2015-16 budget resolution and tax levy.
The fiscal 2015-16 budget workshop was held on April 25th. This public hearing is scheduled to receive public comments on the proposed budget, to appropriate funds, to establish the tax levy for the budgeted appropriations, and to approve changes to department fees. Pursuant to Section 8.4 of the City Charter, a resolution has been drafted which, if approved, will adopt the fiscal 2016 budget, appropriate funds, levy the property tax, and approve several fee adjustments. Following the public hearing, I recommend the council approve the fiscal year 2015-16 budget resolution.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to open the meeting to the public. Anybody in the audience wish to discuss the fiscal year budget resolution that we're trying to pass? If not, then I'll close the meeting to the public. What's the wish of council, please?
Your Honor,
Mr. Hartwell.
I move that City Council approve fiscal year 2015-16, the budget resolution and tax levy as presented by staff.
Thank you, sir. Second?
Your Honor.
Mr. Corbett?
Support, sir.
Discussion?
Your Honor,
yes, sir.
May I?
Please.
This is a really remarkable budget, and for two reasons. I mean, this is, we should advertise this on the top of the big hill as loud as we can. The city millage rate is going down this year, and fees are going down this year. It's really remarkable. I've been on council for 8 years, and we've just been so desperately broke with our revenues going down, with property values going down, with state revenue sharing going down, with court costs and fines going down. And this year, I don't know if we've turned that corner. We're still apprehensive about the next years. But this budget is a really remarkable document, and the fact that we're finally to the point where we can, you know, we've trimmed our tax rates and we've trimmed our fees back. I mean, it's just a really remarkable point that, you know, in years past we've had to raise taxes, we've had to slash services, shutter departments, we've taken a lot from our employees. But this is a pivotal year, and anyone that studies the budget, I think, should take note of those 2 points. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to address council? If not, then we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Hartwell, a second by Councilman Corbett, to approve the budget, 2015-16 budget resolution. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Continuing on, reports on agenda of interest to parties in the audience. Is there anybody in the audience that wants something on the agenda brought forward at this time? Okay, we're going to open the meeting to the public. Anybody wishing to address council, please feel free to do so. Again, as always, give us your name and address, if you will, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Good evening.
I came in here.
Name and address.
Okay, I forgot about that part. Sorry. Nancy Katinsky, 391 Heck Drive. And after hearing everybody and what they're asking the city to do, I came in here with a different kind of a dream. One that I need for myself, and I think the city of, and the residents of the city of Madison Heights. I've got a problem with my water bills. And it goes back to when I first came back into the city. I've had a home here since 1958 with my parents, and for the past 3 years I'm back living in the city. My water bill that came in last August was $455. $271 was for sewage. I'm asking the city, if it's possible at all, to let the residents obtain meters for the sprinkling system, so I don't have to pay that high of a water bill that goes for sewage. And the past week, I've spent time calling from Macomb County and Oakland County. I called so many cities to see if they had it. And I felt that if any city had it in Oakland County, Madison Heights would be top on the list too, because I think that much of Madison Heights. And we do have cities in Oakland County that have it. And we have cities in Macomb County that have it. So when I went to the water department and asked, they said no. I've heard things saying like, well, sometimes cities give a discount in the summer months. That city would be Sterling Heights. They do take 25% off of the bill. I don't know who else to go to or what else to do, but it's out there. Who can help me? What can we do? I'm lost, you know, without council. You're the first people to talk to that can do anything at all. And of course, then Mr. Vitale, maybe he could help me, because there's things, I don't know who handles what in the city, but I know that it's out there. So how do I go about getting a permit to get one?
Mr. Myers?
Your Honor,
yeah.
The issue of a second water meter has come up now and then, historically, over the past decade or two since I've been here. We've done reporting on that. I'd be happy to share that information with the lady and sit down and talk with her. The bottom line is it boils down to the fact that we have a system that's mostly fixed cost driven, and with a second meter, it would come down to subsidizing those sewer charges as to how we're billed and who would pay those charges. So, I'd be happy to sit down and meet with her and go over.
And when could we have this talk? My only problem with this is that I have heard what you're trying to tell me, and what I hear is so many things about City of Detroit the water, we get the water from them, their sewage expenses. And then I hear this thing about the second meter being a problem because they say the city gets money back from Detroit because of this. And then I hear the story that the sewage thing that's going on now is that they're using like redoing like a reverse osmosis type thing where they do reuse or whatever they do on the water to reuse or recycle that part again. I just want to know if anybody has it, why can't I get it?
Your Honor, again, I'd be happy to sit down. One of the good things about the Great Lakes Water Authority, regardless of how you think about that, and this is going into effect July 1st, is that for the first time, the city of Detroit will be treated as another customer and will be responsible for issues arising into the city of Detroit and through the city of Detroit, and not the wholesale suburban customers will basically be standing on their own under the new setup. So again, I would, Your Honor, I would ask if you could approach Mr. Vitale and give him your contact information, and we'll meet with you very shortly.
Sure. Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Corbett. This minute.
Ma'am.
Ma'am.
Hi. I was just hi. I was just going to make a comment that I just was going to make a comment. When we looked at it a couple of years ago, Mr. Myers has to be politically correct. I don't normally suffer under that handicap, and the problem is that if you allow a second meter to be available to residents, a second meter then would also be available to businesses. I mean, fair is fair. If you get to do it, they get to do it. And typically, they can pretty much uniformly afford it. When, the large, along Stevenson occurs to me, but also along DeQuinder and so on. And the problem is you have to understand, we get one bill from the city of Detroit. Just one bill, City of Madison Heights. We divvy it up depending on what part you use, what part I use, and so on. The thing is that if the businesses use it, they will get a larger advantage on average than the individual people. So in other words, be careful what you pray for. What might happen is your bill could actually go up. If enough businesses took advantage of it, which they could maybe more afford to do it than maybe you or I, the bill could actually end up going up. I know what you're trying to do, but that's the problem that when we looked at it a few years ago, I think about 3 years ago, that was the problem.
I heard the same thing. I also heard that it could be like hurt us in a way because it's going to cost the city, they're going to have more meter readers, but they're in the process.
No, well, we don't have that anymore anyway.
We have
it's all electronic. I just always normally figure if it's you're going to win or businesses are going to win, I'm going to bet against you. Nothing personal, but yeah, the businesses are going to be able to take the advantage. So,
Your Honor, it is a good point in terms of not having the meter readers, but having a second set of meters to be serviced, budgeted for, replaced.
Well, they're doing the electronic ones now. That's what the Edison's.
Correct. You're correct, ma'am. We are reading that way, but those meters still have to be serviced, replaced, and budgeted for, and the city water fund has to support that. It's not.
What about a discount in the summer months just because of the sewage?
Well, Your Honor, yeah, same thing would apply. I understand what you're saying about Sterling Heights, but again, being fixed cost driven for 80 to 85% of the budget, someone has to pay that bill.
I know. Again, my name's on that list.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else wish to address council?
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment? Yes. To me, the seniors work their whole lives. Mm-hmm. They pay their dues. They live on a fixed income. We should do what we can do. And I understand our options are limited, but my heart goes out to you guys, and I really think we need to look hard at this topic and see what we can come up with.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Good evening.
Hello, my name's Gloria Moore. I live at 27368 Dartmouth in Madison Heights. I'd like to invite everyone to come to our annual meeting that's on May 19th at 7 o'clock over at the public library. Afterwards, there's going to be coffee over at Leo's on us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to address council? If not, then continue. Yes, sir. Name it again.
I'm Paul Sanders. I live at 26433 Rialto Street.
Thank you.
You don't want us to water on odd and even days and everything else, and you won't give her a little tiny meter that sits on the side because it cost us, the rest of us, too much money because the big businesses, it's water. We got the Great Lakes all around us. We don't live in California. And this is going to ruin the city because, come on, that's ridiculous. Come on, I know what I'm paying for water, and it's me and a dog that live there. And 2/3 of it's for the sewage. For people that want to water their yards, or even if the companies around here want to spray water, why are you so worried? It's not going down the sewer anyways. Explain this to me. Come on, Lucy. Go ahead. Explain why you got to charge that much. All she wants is a separate meter that says how much she's just using water to water her yard. What about people that want a swimming pool or something? I don't. Please, come on. You guys, explain this to me, please. She's not watering Africa. She's watering, how big a yard do you have, ma'am? No. Oh, come on now. Go ahead, explain this to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Moving on, then let's go to item C on the agenda, communications, and nothing is scheduled for this evening.
Wait a minute, you didn't explain it. I asked you a question.
Okay.
Your Honor, I think we've addressed the issue.
Yeah. Okay, sure, thank you. Okay, reports is next, item D. And the first report is the Deputy City Manager, First Amendment to the interlocal agreement for the on-site health and wellness center.
Yes, Your Honor. Our My Life Health and Wellness Center, which is administered by Care Here, our provider, opened in January of 2015, and this is a new collaboration between the founding employer cities of Madison Heights, Ferndale, and Royal Oak. Our center is currently meeting projections as it relates to utilization, and it is on track compared to Care Here's numbers for other first-year centers nationwide. However, the founding cities believe in order to meet long-term goals of expansion and savings, it is vital to expand utilization. In addition to ongoing marketing of the center to employees, expanding utilization would involve bringing other entities into the center as participants. Our current interlocal agreement among the three cities provides for bringing on another employer for a lump sum entry fee of $7,500 and an ongoing $5 per employee per visit fee. After the founding employers discussed these fees, which were established prior to us opening, the committee decided to amend the interlocal agreement in order to make joining the center more palatable for a potential agency, particularly for smaller entities if the entity had fewer than 100 employees. And the premise is that the more participants we have, the more utilization grows, and the more successful the My Life Center will be. This proposed amendment incorporates several changes to Section 7 as follows. One, it broadens the definition of eligible agencies to allow for the future possibility of a private sector participant. Two, it replaces the one-time $7,500 entry fee with a one-time $65.50 per eligible employee fee up to a maximum of $7,500. Three, it eliminates the ongoing fee of $5 per employee or dependent visit that would have been assessed to additional employers. And finally, four, it provides that additional employers will share in the cost of new and replacement equipment for the center based on their percentage of eligible employees at the time of the purchase. Staff and I recommend that Council approve the First Amendment to the Health and Wellness Center interlocal agreement and authorize the manager to sign on behalf of the city. I would note that the City Attorney's Office has reviewed and approved the proposed language changes.
Thank you, sir. What's the wish of council on this, please?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Clark.
I make a motion to approve the First Amendment to the Health and Wellness Center interlocal agreement and authorize the city manager to sign on behalf of the city.
Thank you, sir. Second.
Mr. Mayor?
Mrs. Scott?
Second.
Discussion.
Your Honor,
Yes. Mr. Bliss?
the Health and Wellness Center has been a great success so far. The area where I think we might be losing the intent is the addition and possibility of private sector participants. Originally, when this was discussed, it was not to compete with the healthcare providers in our city. We do have quite a few healthcare providers in our city that are trying to make a living and paying taxes in the city. And the original definition of this was simply to allow the public sector, like the city of Madison Heights, to be able to reduce its healthcare costs with its own employees within the city. And I'm absolutely for adding agencies. I mean, particularly school districts, other communities that are local to us. That would be a great way to add. So I guess what I would like, I move that we have an alternative motion that would keep the amendments as described, except for eliminating the definition of eligible agencies, keeping that to public sector participants instead of allowing for private.
Okay. You're making a motion on that, do you say? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Say it again, please.
To keep the motion as given, but amend it to eliminate the broadened definition of eligible agencies, to simply continue to refine it to public sector.
Good. Do we have a second?
Your Honor, I'm going to
Yeah.
second, because I've got some questions that I
I beg
want
your
to
pardon?
ask.
Wait,
I
what
don't
did you
know
say?
where I'm going to come on that, but I wanted to ask, yeah, so I second, sure.
You'll second?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'd like to get the staff reaction, Ben, on what's the, why are we...
Take your hand away from me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Why are we steering in that direction away from what we were originally
Your Honor,
oriented towards?
one point I left off my comments, and it was in Melissa's report, was that we originally modeled this program after the Care Here Center out in the western side of the state. I understand we're it on this side of the state, but the original agreement that Care Here modeled was with Calhoun County, Battle Creek, and Toyota. It was a concept that came up to the north from Tennessee area and other parts of the country, and we've embraced it. I wouldn't characterize, in response to the councilman's question, I wouldn't characterize it as targeting private sector per se. Our first efforts has always been to approach public sectors, be it other cities, school districts, what have you. But I think the concept is we wanted to give ourselves flexibility.
Okay, but flesh out for me the possibility of a private participant would that include, for example, John's Manufacturing with 20 employees? Is that the direction?
Your Honor,
we're going?
it could.
And okay. All right, up for the moment. If anybody else has any comments.
Okay. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I have a question,
Sure.
maybe directed to Deputy City Manager on this issue. The other founders, have they already approved the First Amendment as proposed?
Burndale's approving it tonight, and Royal Oak's going to be approving it at the end of the month.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
The other question would be, if council were to approve the substitute motion, which essentially is to leave the word public agencies back in, what would you expect the reaction of the other founders to be relating to that issue?
I'm not sure. I mean, we're not targeting private companies right out. We're actually looking at other school districts and things. We just did, like Mr. Myers said, we wanted to give ourselves some flexibility, because I know if a private industry has already installed the Care Here Center in their place, such as, I can't remember the name of the company, it's not Toyota, but on the west side, that particular organization has 4 employees that rotate around the Madison Heights area. They could come use our clinic because it's like a reciprocal agreement. So without having this private language in there, I can't let those 4 people that are really part of this Grand Rapids, Battle Creek area center use my center. And for those 4 appointments, they pay Madison Heights to use the center. And so that saves Madison Heights, Ferndale, and Royal Oak money. They're already in the Carrier group. I'm not out recruiting new people to join in with Carrier. So it's a way to open doors also to Madison Heights people to be able to use these clinics as they become more popular in the Michigan area.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So in other words, the purpose of striking the word public with regard to the original amendments is intended for this to be more flexible to perhaps increase utilization of our center here.
Yes, that's the sole purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, excuse me.
I just wanted to say we wrote that interlocal agreement before the center really got up and going, and actually I wrote it with your help and really didn't know what to expect, and I just kind of, flew by the seat of my pants to come up with it. And now that the center's up and going and we really see what's out there and what can happen, I really think that the amendment needs to give us a little bit of flexibility. I'm not going to be out marketing up and down Stevenson, but I have presented the idea to, Lamphere and any other school district or local municipalities that may be interested. So,
And Your Honor, just to clear, this is really geared toward a self-insured employer.
Okay, good.
Your Honor?
Yes. Mr. Harwell.
Can someone explain the process to add a new partner? Would our council get to approve or reject a new partner? Or another government, another school comes? Is there a formal approval process by the member cities, us and Royal Oak? Or anyone that offers a check, they're welcome? It doesn't, they're just, door is open, or does council get review for any additional suitor?
Yeah, Mrs. Marsh.
currently the interlocal is set up that the founding members, Madison Heights, Royal Oak, and Ferndale, are still the controlling authority. And council actually gave me the authority to sit on that board. Well, I call it a board, it's just the 3 of us. So we would approve any other communities. I can definitely come back to council and get your approval before I approve that. This isn't going to be happening all the time. We're not adding people constantly.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
There's such a thing called a logical fallacy. I heard some logical fallacies tonight. When you can't beat someone else's argument, you attack the person. That's called an ad hominem. Or if you can't beat someone's argument, you start arguing about something else.
I have that at home, but go ahead.
The argument about about striking the language private sector, is what we call a slippery slope argument. And that argument is, well, if we put this language in for private sector, then tomorrow that means the city of Madison Heights will be the next hospital and all doctors are going to be shut out of business. And the antidote to that logical fallacy is a reality check. And the reality check is, well, there are no private sector businesses lining up right now. And the other reality check is, well, if suddenly Madison Heights becomes the wellness center for the region, council has control over this. I mean, we have appointment power over the deputy manager who's at position. So, I mean, the slippery slope that suddenly all of these private healthcare providers are going to be shut out of business because Madison Heights is stepping over their, it's just not a reality. I mean, it's not a reality. So I don't want to be the city that says no just to be a contrarian and just for fear of what if. This is fine. I'm voting no on the substitute motion and yes on the original motion as presented by staff and our partners in Royal Oak and Ferndale.
Anybody else, please?
Your Honor?
Yes.
I think that's a mischaracterization and frankly, probably a little bit of political theater. And with all due respect, what will healthcare providers looking to move in the city think when they see what that agreement says, that the city can, in a sense, compete with them for business? Now, it's okay if it's limited to the public sector. I supported the Health and Wellness Center for that exact reason. It's great for public health care. But I don't understand, just saying we do have a representative on the board. Well, that's a majority board. It's not coming back to council. And so what are we telling our providers in the city right now and those who are looking to come into the city? I don't believe that it's, illogical to simply keep it at public sector, and if a private sector employer wants to come in and utilize it, this body can certainly address it at that time. I agree with the amendment outside of that one change, and so I don't think that it's illogical. I don't think that it's a mistake, and I certainly don't think that it's some sort of slippery slope to say let's protect the perception of business in Madison Heights when it comes to health care, especially since we have no reason to do it at this point anyway. There's nobody asking for it. We don't have a line out the door. When that happens, let's address it. But until that happens, I see no reason to open it up to private sector that we could wake up one month and we do have that line and we've approved all of them without it ever coming back to council.
Thank you, sir. Any other?
Your Honor?
Yeah. Just wait a minute, Mr. Soltis.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had to Google logical fallacy, but I think I don't know if we should act unilaterally on this when Ferndale and Royal Oak are voting on it. Is it tonight, correct? Tonight or last night?
Ferndale.
Ferndale. We could talk with them and get some collaboration with them. Is that?
Your Honor, if I may, this amendment is coming to council, having been through the committee of the three cities.
Right, so I just don't think we should act unilaterally on this without conferring with them.
Anybody else? Yes.
Hi there, Your Honor. Actually, I wasn't even, to tell you the truth, I really didn't know. You raised some good points in your argument. I wasn't really so much focusing on the providers because I think we have a limited number of providers at the moment, so I don't think they're necessarily going to be threatened. What I recall is the discussion when we started this. I remember it was Mrs. Scott who specifically questioned staff on whether or not other than employees would be able to use it. So what that does to me, that sends up a red flag. That says that your existing pool may not be sufficient to keep this running. And so I got to ask you directly, what are the finances on this project looking like right now? Are they meeting their projections in terms of patients and the cost and so on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Mayor. The first 3 months we've exceeded the expectations. Our threshold to break even was 20% and we were at 74%, but it's still too early. That's the first 3 months. So that would be from mid-January until mid-April.
So why?
Why?
Why is the interest to expand the pool potentially, whether it's never, as the logic master here suggests?
We had since the very beginning been talking to a neighboring community and they are now interested in joining. They have 51 public employees, so that's one of the reasons. And the threshold, the dollar amount that I originally came up with is not feasible for them and it doesn't really make any sense, so that was the original amendment. And then the change to the private was due mostly to the reciprocal agreement, because I do know there are those 4 private employees that may never come to our center.
Mm-hmm.
But if they stopped in, it was a way to save Madison Heights and Ferndale and Royal Oak money.
And we have the physical capacity to accommodate
Our center is
a
currently
bad
open
flu season or
16
something?
hours. So our center is currently open 16 hours. So by way we could get more employees in, we can expand the hours of that center and actually make it available more. We're only open 3 days a week. It is possible to add doctors downstairs. We have 2 rooms instead of only 1. So we can add more hours to the clinic.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anybody else? Mrs. Scott?
No.
Oh, okay. You're looking, yeah. Enough time. Okay, we have a motion on the second substitute motion, right? That's for the approval of the, just a second, First Amendment and the interlocal agreement with the word public. Go ahead. Please.
By broadening the definition of eligible agencies to public.
Public, okay. by Councilman Bliss and a second by Councilman Corbett. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed?
No.
No.
No. Okay, let's go back to the original motion then. That was the First Amendment to the interlocal agreement for on-site health and wellness center. We had approval by Councilman Clark and a second by Councilwoman Scott. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Thank
No.
you very much. Okay. Next item on the agenda is E, and it's items for future public hearings. An ordinance 2107 zoning ordinance tax amendment.
These proposed amendments, which were in response to the Planning Commission's discussion on August 19th, 2014, November 18th, 2014, and January 20th, 2015, as well as the April 21st, 2015 public hearing, address mixed uses in the O1 office district, pedestrian benches, and temporary structures or tents. The first proposed amendment would accommodate limited mixed uses and accessory residential uses in the O1 office district. This amendment would allow pharmacy, medical supply, optical supply, tailor, seamstress, beauty supply, and restaurants as permissible uses after special approval. These are currently only allowed as accessory uses after special approval. The second proposed amendment would accommodate accessory pedestrian benches in any zoning district, provided they do not block required accessible pedestrian routes. The third proposed amendment would allow approval of tents in conjunction with an application for a temporary seasonal business license. This would eliminate the need for applicants to go to both the Zoning Board of Appeals and City Council in these limited instances. In addition, per Planning Commission direction, the text includes a provision that permits tents for charitable, religious, or nonprofit events of 2 days or less in duration without the need for ZBA or City Council approval. The Site Plan Review Committee reviewed the proposed amendments and had no additional comments to address. Staff, the Assistant City Attorney, and I concur with the recommendation of the Planning Commission and recommend that Council adopt the proposed amendments, Ordinance 2107, on first reading and schedule the required public hearing and second reading for June 8th, 2015.
Thank you, sir. Can I have a motion on this, please?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Soltis?
No, sir.
Oh,
Mr. Clark.
Mr. Clark? You guys sound alike. I don't know. Okay, Councilman
I'll
Clark,
make-
second?
I would make a motion to adopt the proposed amendments, ordinance 2107 on first reading and schedule the required public hearing and second reading for June 8th, 2015.
Thank you, sir. Second?
Your Honor.
Mr. Corbett?
Support, sir.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item on the agenda is bid awards and purchases. Number one, DPS Director, and this is a contract extension for the Parks Mowing Services.
For several years, DPS staff have been exploring the potential outsourcing of the remaining turf the DPS workforce currently maintains, and that's in our parks network. United Lawnscape Incorporated, the city's turf mowing contractor, maintains all other turf mowing throughout the city, including City Hall, the Senior Center, all city-owned rights-of-way areas, and the Stevenson, Whitcomb, DeQuinder, Progress, and Campbell berms. DPS staff have been very pleased with the quality of service that United has provided and expect the same great level of service with maintaining our parks. In addition, extending the United contract will free up DPS personnel to focus on other core services. The current contract with United provides that the parties may extend the contract for new projects or additional work of a similar nature at the same unit prices upon written agreement of the parties. United's proposed weekly cost for parks mowing is $3,582.50, and a typical mowing season is 26 cutting weeks. The estimated maximum annual cost, therefore, will be $93,145. United has been the city's turf mowing contractor since 2007 and has extended their bid prices every year since. The company's president has provided a letter confirming that the park pricing is in line with the 2007 bid prices. The proposal is moving forward at this time based on personnel changes and reallocated labor costs that are available to support this service and would be in effect beginning with this mowing season. And I would add that there would be absolutely no layoffs as a result of this contracting out. Given that the DPS weekly labor and equipment costs for grass cutting are $15,493 as compared to United's cost of $3,582, the proposal is fiscally sound. Staff and I recommend that City Council approve the extension of bid pricing from our mowing contractor, United Landscape Incorporated, for unit cost and a total estimated amount of $93,145 to assume all turf mowing responsibility in the city's park network. Funds are budgeted and available in this fiscal year and next for this service.
Thank you, sir. Can we have a motion on this, please?
Mr. Mayor?
Mrs. Scott?
Yes, I move that City Council approve the extension of bid pricing from our mowing contractor, United Landscape, Inc., for unit cost in a total estimated amount of $93,145 to assume all turf mowing responsibilities in the city's park network.
Thank you. Second?
Your Honor.
Mr. Corbett?
Support, sir.
Thank you, sir. Discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir. Mr. Harwell?
is this any way related to the other contractor that goes by Gratiot Landscaping? Will Gratiot Landscaping receive any financial benefit from this?
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
no relation.
And there's no way that any of the funds that we're potentially awarding to United could trickle down to Gratiot Landscaping? It's separate contracts?
Your Honor,
Yes.
yes, Mayor Pro Tem, not only separate contracts, but separate funds and separate scopes of work.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion, questions? If not, we have a motion for approval on the contract extension by Councilwoman Scott and a second by Councilman Corbett. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item on the agenda is G, ordinances. And the first ordinance is Ordinance 2108, and that's amendment to the City Crime Commission ordinance, and this is a second reading.
The Crime Commission has requested an amendment to the Crime Commission ordinance to remove the monthly meeting requirement in favor of having meetings as needed, and also to remove the preference for 6 members to have a background in law enforcement or crime prevention. The first reading was approved on April 13th, and staff, the City Attorney's Office, and I recommend approval of Ordinance 2108 on the second and final reading.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. What's the wish of council on this, please?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Clark?
I'd make a motion to approve ordinance 2108, the amendment to the City Crime Commission ordinance on the second reading.
Thank you, sir. Second?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Hartwell?
Support, please.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? With that, let's go into minutes. We're going to need 3 approvals. The first will be for a special council meeting we had on April 25th, 2015. Could I have a motion, please?
Your Honor.
Mr. Corbett.
Sir, I move that the council approve the minutes from the special meeting of April 25th, 2015.
Thank you, sir. Second?
Mr. Mayor?
Mrs. Scott.
Second.
Discussion?
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 2, special council meeting of April 27th. We need a motion on this, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Clark?
I'd make a motion that the special meeting of April 27th, the minutes to be adopted as printed.
Thank you, sir. Second?
Your Honor.
Mr. Corbett?
Support, sir.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 3, the regular council meeting of April 27th, please.
Mr. Mayor?
2015.
No, I move to approve the minutes
Mr.
of the
Corbett,
April
okay.
27th regular meeting as printed.
Thank you. Second?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Hartwell?
Thank you, I support.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's go item H, unfinished business on the agenda, and nothing is scheduled for that. So let's go to appointments, and we do have a couple applicants, I believe, and one is, just a second, I think it's the Parks and Recreation Board, Donald Bretsch Jr., am I correct on this? Well, wait a minute, the first one would be Charter Amendment and Ordinance Revision with Christian Tecker, and his applicant went in at 4:30. 2015. We need a motion on that?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
What was the gentleman's last name? I'm sorry.
Tecker,
I'm sorry?
T-E-C-K-E-R.
Oh, Tecker, okay. I would move to appoint Mr. Tecker to the, probably the longest seat available, which would be the one on Charter and Ordinance expiring 1/9/17.
Thank you, sir. Second?
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Scott,
second.
discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The second, I think, is the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and it's Donald Brett Jr., and it's going to go in, I believe, as an alternate, if I'm not mistaken. Is this correct?
No. Your Honor,
Yes.
as Mr. Bliss, he has the answer.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Don Brecht Jr. is actually applying for the Madison seat, the Madison delegate seat.
Okay, okay.
With an expiration of 4/15/2016.
Okay.
This is a mayor's appointment, so if
Yes.
it's only to appoint, I'd make a motion to accept and approve of the mayor's appointment of Don Brecht Jr. for the Parks and Rec Advisory Board in the Madison delegate seat, provided that there's confirmation from the Madison district that he would be their delegate.
Thank you, sir. Second?
Your Honor,
Mr. Corbett?
support, sir.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, when there's a mayor's appointment, isn't it something that you need to say verbally?
Well, actually, he did for me, but yeah, I approved it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor then? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I don't. Yeah, we also have the Zoning Board of Appeals, and this is Christian Tecker again, and it's that's not a mayor's appointment, I don't think. It's an alternate, and the term expires 2/1/2017. We have a motion on this, please.
Your Honor,
Mr. Corbett?
I would move to appoint Mr. Tecker to the available seat on the Zoning Board of Appeals, expiring 2/1/17.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Your Honor.
Mr. Harper?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Can Mr. Tecker serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals and the board we just appointed him to, the Charter Amendment Board?
I believe so.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, then all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I think that's the end of the appointments. So with that, executive section, item I, we have nothing. So with this, then let us go into closing comments from council. With your permission, and Councilman Corbett, we'll start with you, sir.
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Bliss.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm actually in shock. Nothing from Councilman Corbett tonight. If Councilwoman Scott says nothing, I'm going to have like a heart attack over here.
You're safe. Say nothing. Say nothing.
I have a pacemaker. I have a pacemaker.
I won't disappoint you.
Kids' dad's coming home, so don't worry about it.
Your Honor, just really quick, once again, wanted to thank everybody who came out tonight. There was a lot of great feedback, and I'm the council appointed rep to the Parks and Rec Committee, and so I can't wait to see this dialogue in action and see those I's dotted and T's crossed in this project. That's it, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Hartwell.
Yeah, I thought we had a really positive conversation today. I mean, it's so easy to go negative and point fingers and blame people, and it's harder to pay compliments, and it's harder to build bridges and find what unites us. And I just really applaud the public and the council. So that's all.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sherman.
Nothing this evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Mr. Byers.
No, sir, nothing tonight.
Okay. Ms. Prince.
Nothing this evening?
How'd the election go?
That went great.
Okay.
No problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilman Clark.
Well, two things, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to wish you happy birthday today.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
The second thing is, the lady that has the water problem, just recently being with the SHARP program where we help the seniors, I had 2 calls. One of them, the one lady, her bill was $900 and some. The reason for that, they put a notice on the door, which she ignored, possibly for a month. Well, come to find out, she had a leaky toilet. And all it required was to put a new flapper valve in. And if you're a senior, you can go to the senior center, you can pick a little packet up. It's got 2 strips in it. It's a blue dye. And you take the cap off where the water supply for your toilet is, you drop one of them in there, put the cap back on, wait about a half an hour, don't flush it, wait about a half an hour, and if that flapper valve is leaking, the water in the bowl will turn blue. And anybody else that thinks their water bill is a little bit high, you can come to City Hall and you can pick one of those packets up. It's just 2 strips of blue dye. If you have 2 toilets, put 1 in each. And that may eliminate a higher water bill.
In Your Honor, I would just add to what Councilman Clark said. If you suspect a leak or something, please call Department of Public Services. We'll have a service technician come out and take a look and start to rule things out to get to the source of the issue.
That's all I have.
Councilwoman Scott, nothing this evening, is this correct?
On your birthday, I'm going
Hey,
to
I
honor
tried,
you.
Mark.
I'm going to go to the Wellness Center.
Yes, I'm going to honor you with a long speech because it's your birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I wanted to remind the citizens that the 60th Diamond Anniversary of Madison Heights is this year, and there are shirts available, and maybe when you leave or as you come into City Hall, you'll see them on display. They're very nice, and you can put in your order with the order form that you'll find online. Also, to remind our citizens that our newly remodeled animal shelter is going to be holding an open house on Saturday, June 13th, and that will be from noon to 3 o'clock, and there will be a presentation at 12:30 and a raffle drawing at 2 o'clock. And I know that they really appreciate any support that we can give them because they do save a lot of our animals and they do good work. Also, to continue with the trivia quiz, the question for last week was, what was proposed to be built in 1952 in the northeast area of John R. and 12 Mile Road, and what was built there instead? And your possibilities for answers were the Northeast Airport, then the Oakland County Incinerator. It was the Oakland County Landfill, then the Oakland County Incinerator. Was Oakland Mall, and then the Madison Heights Post Office, or was it the Oakland County Landfill and then the Abbey Movie Theater? And I hope that you all realize that you can see it right today. If you go in 1952, there was a Northeast Airport proposed for that corner of John R. and 12 Mile Road. I know that a man named Jim Robinson, who was a pilot, was involved in that. It didn't fly, and so the Oakland County Incinerator was then installed there. And the question for this coming week, and I picked one because I know that almost all of our audience is going to know the answer to this one. What building was constructed and opened on its original location on John R. in 1924 that later became Wilkinson Junior High School? And the possibilities for that answer, it will be online and you can interject what you think would be the right answer. Your choices are A, Madison High School, B, was it Kendall School or one-room schoolhouse, was it C, Lanphier High School, or was it D, the Madison Heights Library? So hopefully, you all know the answer to that one, I hope, and we'll publicize the answer next council meeting.
Is that
That's
it?
all. And again, happy birthday to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. You were short. You're not feeling well? No, just teasing. Councilman Soltis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy birthday. I think I'll make up some of the time. I know we've gone longer than usual here tonight. I've always said that sometimes it's like the guy in C-SPAN talking out to the audience where it's empty seats. But so I want to take advantage of some of the people here tonight because I just real quick, I want to talk about a timely issue. So please bear with me. Every time I hear about outsourcing, I cringe. I grew up in a second-generation union family. I'm all about union jobs. I know we're not going to lay anybody off. We're saving money, but I'd rather see us hire a union person. I can only imagine what their starting wage is. But anyhow, which leads me to the next issue is about there's an issue prevailing wage elimination for union workers that's going on. The Michigan Republican Senate is attempting to outlaw working people a right to earn a decent wage. To me, it's a shame that they broke apart the union membership. They tried to do that, taxed public pensions, and now they want to unemploy local contractors and construction workers. According to I read the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 58. They talked about prevailing wage laws and policies have been enacted on the federal level, Davis-Bacon legislation, the state level, and by several Michigan municipalities. The goal of prevailing wage is to protect local contractors and construction workers from non-local contractors, often from out of state, who bring in lower cost workers to give them a competitive advantage when bidding for public work projects. While proponents of repealing Michigan Prevailing Wage Act claim that doing so would reduce public construction costs by $250 million. Several peer-reviewed academic studies over the past 2 decades has demonstrated that although bids may come in lower on non-prevailing wage jobs, there is no statistical difference in the final construction cost between projects done by the prevailing wage and those done without. So if they do what they normally do with their control and stuff this down the throats of Michigan voters, I want to take advantage of the next council meeting and present a resolution for us to protest against such what I call working family atrocity. All right, so on to the good news. June 2nd, we're doing a senior trip to Lansing. Last year we did it. It was great. It was called Older Michiganian Day, and about 25 seniors and Councilman Hartwell went with us and the deputy manager at the time, and we took a bus ride out there. It's all free for seniors. The bus trip is free. The lunch is put on by the Area Agency of Aging. You get a free T-shirt. It's a great time. We're starting at probably 8:30 at the senior center, and we'll load up the bus and head out there. And there's thousands of seniors and senior advocates, legislators that come out and give speeches and shake hands. Last year we went on the House Gallery, and Representative Townsend introduced us on the House floor. So it's a great time, and above all, it's free. So last year we had about 25 residents, and I'm hoping to double that. And so if you have any questions, you can contact the Senior Center or my number, 248-219-6381, or if anyone has any issue, you can call me up. And then hopefully we'll get out there on June 2nd, and it won't rain. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just one thing I'd like to add. If the seniors do stop in and pick up one of them packets at the senior center, stop and look and see what they have to offer. They offer a whole lot. So just take a look. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir. Mr. Hartwell.
Councilman Bliss moved to add to our next council agenda a resolution opposing the repeal of the prevailing wage. I second that motion.
I think it was
Councilman
me.
Soltis.
Oh, okay. You second?
I second.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor? Right?
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
The motion was,
Wait.
Go ahead, yeah.
maybe you should restate the motion.
Wait. He didn't move it. There's no motion. Okay. You know what the motion was? The second.
Well, did you make a motion? I thought you just said you were going to present a resolution.
Your Honor.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, you said next meeting, didn't you?
Yes, sir. I think because of the council is going to discuss it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
The council policy that we've had in place since 1986 actually calls for a motion rather than an individual council person request with regard to taking action at a future meeting. So we've been responding to council individual requests, but technically the correct way to do it per the policy would be a motion, even during round robin, with a second and a majority vote as to whether the majority of council would like to see a particular resolution brought to the table. We've been responding, staff has been responding both ways to individual requests as well as to motions passed. But when we looked at the council policy recently, it seemed to indicate that that's what the council in 1986 had in mind when a request is made at this meeting to do something at a future meeting.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I'd rather take a look at the policy myself.
I beg your pardon?
I would rather take a look at the policy myself. I don't. First of all, I vote for it anyway, but that's not the question. I didn't hear you say that. I heard you say you would, depending on what happened, you might bring it up at the next meeting.
Well, right. If it's not voted on and made law,
Okay, well,
then I wanna bring-
that's my point, so.
So I can make that motion then, correct?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
But I would rather take a look at that policy, because, you know, we're going to start to get carried away with some of the procedures. You know, a proclamation or a resolution has never gotten hung up at this table before. And I do not recommend we start that nonsense now. So, go ahead.
Yeah.
We'll sort this out later, but, yeah, go ahead, make your motion, we'll get it on the
No,
agenda.
City Attorney, isn't that, in order to present it next council meeting, there has to be a motion and second and approved?
Well,
I mean, technically?
that's what the policy says. We haven't exactly been following the policy. Our past practice has been to respond, for staff to respond to individual council requests. So, for example, if you made a request, whatever, any type of resolution, typically the city manager would circulate perhaps a draft for council consideration before it ends up on an agenda anyway. But when we looked at the policy recently, the policy did call for a motion and a second if a member of council wanted to see a resolution or proposal of some sort, whether it's for or against a concept, added at a future meeting. It called for a motion, a support, and a majority of council approving it to see it at the next regular meeting.
And like I said, I'd like, Your Honor,
Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to see that policy brought up for consideration and an analysis by staff. And then do whatever you want with your I have no problem with it.
I don't know if we're going to go past practice or we're going to continue, go with the ruling.
No, it's the wish of council. They can revisit the policy. They can pass a motion. We can deal with it in accordance with past practice. But I think council ought to sort it out to see what's the wish of the majority of council with regard to that policy that's been in effect for 29 years.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I don't, obviously we have to look into the policy, but I also don't think we should be blindly adding something to the agenda that we don't know what the language of the resolution would be. We have no idea of what staff analysis would be. So I'd rather send it back to staff, see what the review is, and then once they come to a conclusion, give us something that we can read and analyze. Then we can make the motion to add something to an agenda or not. But right now we're making a motion to add an idea that hasn't been put in paper onto our agenda, and that's just not as well defined as I'd like it to be.
Well, I don't want to start now. I mean, we've added resolutions before, and I don't want to use this one as a guinea pig, because I want this resolution on the agenda next time, like we've done before.
Well, Your Honor?
Yes.
Just a question, were you going to write it yourself? Or?
Yes, as the others.
Well, I would recommend, do what you want. I'm not uncomfortable with the way we've been doing it for 16 years that I'm aware of. I'm not at all uncomfortable with you drafting it, submitting it to staff for comments, and it miraculously appearing on the next agenda. I have no problem with that at all. And, like I said, if 6 of your fellows don't think it's a great idea, it's going to be a short conversation, and if 4 of them don't agree, it's not going to get passed anyway.
Well, so be it.
So that would be my recommendation, is just let the gentleman submit his resolution, let it go through the process, and we'll take a look at what the camel looks like at the other end.
I defer to Senior Councilman Corbett's idea.
See, now you smile when you went with that senior thing, and I'm concerned. But yeah.
Okay. What is the motion again, please?
Mr. Mayor, there is no motion on the floor.
Relax.
Well, Mr. Harwell, you didn't have to second that. No. Okay. Are you going to make a motion or no?
No, sir.
We'll do it next. Okay. Yes, anybody else? Any comments? Any comments from the audience?
Your Honor?
Yes.
I just apologize. That was a little bit of inside baseball that puts people to sleep, and some of us do, so I apologize for it. But every now and again you trip over your own policies, and you have to straighten them out, and that was all that was. No great mystery. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else? Audience? No, I'm all set. No, yeah. Oh, yeah, I do have a question. If I'm to win the raffle at the dog shelter, would I get a kitten?
Don't know. You would have
Okay.
to ask
I'm not
Suzette
going to go.
Geisler.
I'm not going to go. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to win. Hey, thank you everybody for being here. And if any questions during the week, call somebody at City Hall, City Manager Ray. Thanks a lot.